Today, what I want to talk about is one huge aspect of coercive control that most victims don't even realize they're living with. And most victims, even if they realize it's happening, they don't realize it's coercive control. Now, a lot of times we think of coercive control as someone forcefully controlling you, telling you what you can wear, what you can eat, when you can eat, who you can see, who you can talk to, when you can use the phone, whether or not you can access the money, whether or not you have access to a car, whether or not you have access to friends or social environments or your church people, or what you can read, what you can watch, all of those things. Yes, those things can be coercive control, absolutely. But one of the things that is very, very commonly overlooked when someone is living in an abusive experience or in an abusive environment is the very common aspect of someone taking massive amounts of coercive control over your flow of information. Because you see, if someone makes sure you don't have enough information to be able to put the pieces together, then they can keep you in the dark and maximize their freedom by minimizing your knowledge and your access to information. This is an aspect of coercive control. If someone is limiting your access to valuable information to the point that you can't tell whether or not they're lying to you, that you can't tell whether or not they're faithful to you, that you can't tell whether or not you are living in safety, then their control of your access to information has become coercive, and that is a form of domestic violence. That is a form of abuse. Here's one way that can play out. You ask questions, they shrug. They ask you questions, you give long, detailed answers. They know most everything about you. You know little to nothing about them. Very often, we don't notice this pattern in early parts of a relationship or an interaction or even a friendship, because we're so flattered that they want to know so much about us. They're asking us so many questions. They're listening to everything you have to say. They're paying attention to you, and it feels good, right? When a person is toxic, when a person is an abuser, someone asked me just now, like not having access to the bank account. Yes, that's absolutely a form of financial control and financial abuse. But I'm talking about also, what if you don't even know that they have 5 other bank accounts? And because they've never communicated enough with you for you to have that information, you don't know enough to ask the question, right? So this can look like, it can start very early in an interaction or in a relationship. They ask you a ton of questions, and instead of actually deeply caring, what they're doing is storing information that they can manipulate and weaponize against you later. Have you ever known someone where they asked you a ton of questions, you felt super focused and heard and listened to, they drew you out, and then later, it might be a week, it might be a month, it might be 2 years, later, they remember exactly what you said at exactly the right time to cause you the greatest amount of pain or vulnerability. And they pull that information back out because they have studied you to know exactly how to manipulate your flow of information. A lot of times in dating relationships, especially, sometimes in friendships and work environments too, we see where someone will get a lot of power by learning everything about everyone else, and then nobody else really knows anything about them. They answer with platitudes or shrugs or just pat answers that says nothing. They don't tell you stories. They use a lot of words without any facts. They don't tell you actual things that happened to them. They just speak in broad generalities. Vague answers, no details, or just too tired to talk about it, really don't have the energy, and they somehow find a way to dodge every time you have a real important or necessary question about things. So this can also play out where someone who is doing this ends up creating a dynamic where they have maximum freedom and they get maximum pity. For example, here's a hypothetical situation. Let's say a husband is committed to cheating on his wife, or he has an addiction that he doesn't want her to know about. So he works or claims to work long extra hours. He's always gone. And when she says, hey, I could work some more so that we can both contribute to the family budget so you wouldn't have to work so much and we could trade off and you could get some more rest. Maybe he says, no, I don't want to put that burden on you. I don't want to make you go through that. I'll keep working. And so he's gone all the time. And very often in these kind of situations, there's also financial abuse. So let's say they have credit card debt and he keeps saying, I have to work so much because I have to pay off the credit card debt. I mean, we've got to get rid of the credit card debt. I have to work all the time. And then whenever she wants to do something together or whatever, he says he's too tired, he's not interested, and he is just exhausted. And then he turns around and makes it all about how she makes him work so hard. Because of her, he has to work so much, and he's bitter and angry and resentful. And then she feels awful for asking to do anything with him because obviously she's being a burden. So she stops asking. She stops asking questions. She stops asking for him to be there with her and the children or whatever. Well, what she doesn't know in this potential situation, this is a hypothetical, what she doesn't know is that he's actually got a girlfriend, or he's got a gambling addiction, or he's got a pornography addiction. So when he is at work, he's talking about how his wife at home won't help with the bills, won't get a job, and he creates maximum pity from others while also creating maximum freedom for himself because she thinks he's working to pay off their bills. What she doesn't know, because she doesn't have access to all of the bank accounts and all of the credit cards, is that he's actually spending most of the money he makes doing something that costs him money but is for his pleasure, whether that is for the girlfriend or his expensive hobbies or for his addiction or whatever else. And she doesn't know that there's even a problem, because when he comes home exhausted from whatever he has been doing, she thinks it's because he's been working so long. And when she asks about his work, he says it's because she costs so much, and then she feels guilty, so she doesn't ask anymore. And he is completely controlling her access to information in a way that maxes out his potential for freedom to sin against their marriage and their family, while also maxing out his potential for pity from and pour you from anyone who is outside looking in who doesn't know the full story. And she is innocently trusting that he's actually working hard and trying to provide for the family because she just doesn't have all the information. Now, can this happen with the roles reversed, where a woman is doing this and she's cheating and hiding things from the man, or spending all the money and not letting him know, and has secret credit cards or whatever? Absolutely it can. Can it happen in a workplace environment where someone is controlling your flow of information and is manipulating you for their maximum freedom or power gain, while you just keep trying to keep your head down and do a good job and you don't realize you're being screwed over? Absolutely it can. So it's not necessarily only a gender male perpetrator to female, but hey, that's the scenarios that I work with so much. So if you are in a relationship or an environment where you actually have a right as an adult partner or employee or spouse, family member, to know what is being done, to know where someone is spending their time, to know what is happening with the finances and the bank accounts, to know what is happening with the debt, to know what is happening with work, and so on. And you are being intentionally or even very subtly and quietly shut out of each of those things. And you realize that there is something that is not right here. It is possible that you are actually experiencing coercive control when it comes to your flow of information. So, just want to throw that out there. Maybe this is something you've experienced. If you have, drop me a comment. If you have questions about this, leave a comment. Myself or one of my admin team will definitely do our best to point you to resources, books to read, things that you can do to get more information. But honestly, if this is what you're living with, odds are there's other things going on too, and you need to know the truth. You have a right to know the truth. You have a right to the truth about your marriage so that you can make informed decisions about what is best and healthiest and safest for yourself, your children, and your home. Thank you so much. If you loved this, please share it, pass it on. If you've watched this long, that's awesome. Yay for you. Thank you for hanging out with me today. And like I said, share it, drop me a comment, tell me what you think. Talk to you later.